Alright guys, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank for another round of rapid fire comic book reviews. So we've got 3 books today, one solo issue, oddly enough, and 2 completions. So the first issue, the first one we have is Superman and Robin, written by Peter Tomasi, and anything by Tomasi is usually very good. I can't think of anything he's done that I've disliked. Maybe if I thought about it, I'd probably find it. But Superman and Robin is sort of a continuation of his Adventures of Super Sons book, which, along with Superman Rebirth, was one of the 2 books that really helped sell the idea of Jon Kent to readers during DC Rebirth. And it's really sad now to look at what's happened to Jon Kent after the work Peter Tomasi invested in it, especially this dynamic with Damian, which feels kind of, it's not really going to be the same. So for those of you that don't know, Jon Kent was the son of Superman and Lois Lane, and he's half Kryptonian, obviously, and he was 12 years old when Peter Tomasi was writing him. Then Brian Michael Bendis came in, and he sent Jon with his crazy dad, Jor-El, who turned out to not be dead, to just go train and learn to be a Kryptonian, learn to really control his powers. And it turns out, over the course of what felt like, I think it was like a couple months, he'd aged 5 years because apparently he ended up in Earth 3 and was tormented by evil versions of his mom and dad, as you do in Earth 3. So we haven't really seen the results of that torture, of that torment, but here he's really trying to sort of get back into the groove of things, because when he last left Earth, he was like 12, and now he's 17. So he's really trying to deal with a sort of disconnect in this story. And he's watching cartoons while eating cereal. His mom's like, "What, are you doing that?" And sort of have this heart-to-heart talk about, hey, my childhood never really got to naturally end. And that was a very tender moment he had with Lois. I think it might be the most tender moment he's had with Lois since Tomasi left. I mean, since he left Superman. But that whole thing is stopped by the actual story coming through, which is Damian Wayne showing up saying that, hey, there's an issue at the Fortress of Solitude. How do I know? Because I've bugged the fortress. I've bugged the house, and the house has a crystal that gives off the signal the fortress is in trouble. So yeah, so it's really about Jon and Damian sort of having some fun together. Good old fashioned Jon and Damian Adventures of Super Sons, Batman's son and Superman's son, Robin and Superman, because Jon's no longer Superboy. What about the actual Superboy? How does he feel about this? Anyway, the story is really, it's not overly heartfelt. It's more like, hey, remember we used to do this? And both Jon and Damian admit that they do sort of miss this, because they're in sort of different places now than they were when that was still going on. Robin's no longer with the Teen Titans. He's had a falling out with his dad. He's fighting in a tournament held by his crazy grandmother, well, crazy great-grandmother. And, he's still mourning the death of Alfred, because that happened. DC was weird, and still weird. And Jon, as we talked about, is still trying to get over his torture, presumably at the hands of Ultraman and Superwoman, as well as being a kind of terrible character in Tom Taylor's Superman Son of Kal-El. It's weird. And this was really just a nice nod to, like, hey, remember when things were easier, when things were better, when things made sense, before Bendis and Taylor? Yes. Readers of the past remember. But anyway, it was a really fun, heartfelt story. It's got time travel, it's got aliens, it's got Nazis, as you do with time travel. Overall, this was a nice reminder of a simpler, better time at DC Comics. Next is the end of Superman 78. So this was a 6-issue story, and if you recall, we talked about it in our best books of 2021, and this ending was great, but I think in addition to just reminding me of how fun the Donner era was for Superman, it also reminded me, I didn't even remind me, it sort of didn't even inform me, it helps me appreciate Brainiac, because I have yet to find, and I don't really actually look, so a story that endears me to Brainiac. Like, I think I remembered his story once or twice, but here, just explaining it to me, just flat out, his origin, in this continuity, I liked it. The idea that, his species died, his planet died, and he's saving all these other planets from dying by sort of preserving them in jars. And they're better this way, but they're not. They're not living. They're not really experiencing life. It's all frozen effectively for them. And Superman sort of points this out, that you're using science to hide, using science to punish people. Even he himself, even Brandon points out that humanity will destroy itself. Well, let them. I mean, this isn't being cruel, but they have to be allowed to play their role. They have to be allowed to make the change or not. Once you freeze them, once you put them in that jar, you've denied them of any chance to get better. So Brainiac, it sounds like he's doing a good thing. Will stop them from destroying the planet by taking this bit here, and put it in a jar. That way, when humanity eventually kills itself off, it's there. Like, we have a record of it. They did the same thing with Kandor, and it's really cool to see this Superman meet his mom and dad, his biological parents, his biological mom and dad. That was great. Even more, him turning away from it all because he had to help the people of Earth, to me, was fun. And of course, Lex Luthor. Donner's Lex Luthor is just, he's gold. He's pure gold. And finally, we have Wonder Girl, written by Joelle Jones. And this is actually a very sad story. The fact that this book is getting canceled, but at the same time, I kind of don't care that it's getting canceled, because this book has been marred with delays. And I'm not going to lie, 7 issues in, I still really couldn't tell you what this story is about. It's supposed to be, from what I gather, part of the Trial of the Amazon story, which is going to involve stories involving Wonder Woman by default, Nubia, Cassie Sandsmark, Donna Troy, Artemis of the Bottom Migdal, and Yara Flora by default. And the whole time I'm thinking, this should really be promoted more, and I think that would have helped this story more. Because 7 issues in, I have no idea what's really going on. Because I get that there's like another group of Amazons, which puts it like, 3, maybe 4, and they have to stop Yara, but also Yara has to be saved because Hera and Eros have a plan for her behind Zeus's back, because there's nothing more cutthroat than Mount Olympus. There just really isn't. Nobody trusts anybody, everybody kind of hates everybody, and everyone has a low opinion of everybody, even the people they like. And I remember reading Future State Wonder Girl, and I said, like, this is one of the best books in Future State. And to see it happen now, both this run and the Future State run were written by Joelle Jones, so this is the change of writer stuff here. This feels like there was a story here, and we sort of told it in maybe the wrong direction, because I don't recall when I read Infinite Frontier why they mentioned why Yara had to go to South America. Now, the Amazons of South America have a vested interest in it, but I still don't understand why Yara's going. And while there's some cool moments, and I like Yara's character, the story doesn't do anything with her, or at the very least, promote this idea that there's anything unique about her that she should be Wonder Girl, or at the very least, eventually Wonder Woman as we go by Future State Justice League. I don't know. Like, maybe it'll read better when we finally get that last issue, which is going to be in a different Amazon book, which is weird. And maybe it'll all play out together if we read the entirety of everything leading up to Trial of the Amazons, which shouldn't happen. Like, Trial of the Amazons should be able to stand on its own feet if you read just one Wonder Girl, one Wonder book. So in other words, I should just have to read Wonder Girl to be like, okay, I get the gist of this. But all of a sudden, I think I missed the part where Yara mentioned her mom was dead. Like, I think we knew her mom was dead because she's living with her aunt, but I don't get it. I don't get the point of the bus driver that she sort of gets the hots for, other than to hurt his feelings when Eros shoots her, like hits her with an arrow to make her infatuated with him. Jerry the Pegasus is still the best thing about it. So yeah. Overall, this story primarily sold because Yara Flora is
Brazilian.
Yeah, but otherwise kind of dull. So that was it for Rapid Fire Comic Book Reviews. If you're new to the Bucket Thing, if you like, comment, share, subscribe, check out some other videos, and I'll catch you all later. This is Bucket Thing signing off. Thanks for watching. As always, may your fandom serve you well.